Yeah, I guess Rahul joined. Uh,
How will you handle that? Okay, I'm admitting Rahul. Admit කරාම කතා කරන්න. හරිද?
okay, I'll
Okay.
him to another breakout.
Did you assign him to another breakout? Okay. Deumi, can you go to another make a breakout room and have a but Dulite Ratsavilla?
Okay.
But you can do that, right?
Yeah. Okay, I will.
Financial success is achieved through a combination of strategic planning, disciplined execution, and a prudent approach to risk management. A very pleasant evening for everyone. On behalf of the organizing committee of Let's Talk IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka, I warmly welcome you all for the second day of the 3-day workshop series of Upskill 2023, which is organized with the aim of empowering young professionals by enhancing their knowledge on various aspects with the guidance of leading professionals of the country.
Recording in progress.
I believe this session will bear several valuable facts for each and every one of you. I am Ranshika Sandipani, your host for the day. To begin with, I cordially invite the Vice Chairperson of IEEE Let's Talk 2023, Delmi Hathurusingha, to welcome the gathering. Over to you, Delmi.
Thank you, Ranshika. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I extend a warm welcome to all the honored guests, executive members of the IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka, and all the delegates. It's an absolute honor to have you here with us today for the second day of Upskill 2023. Today, our dedicated organizing team is thrilled to present two main sessions to enhance our entrepreneurial skills. The first session will be a talk on entrepreneurial mindsets, and the second session will be a panel discussion on the topic of unleashing entrepreneurial success. We are incredibly fortunate to have an esteemed speaker among us today, Mr. Rahul Nimesh, as our guest speaker for the talk, Entrepreneurial Mindset. Not only but also, we have Mr. Dulit Herath, CEO of the Kapruka Holdings, and Dr. Nirosha Vedasinghe, a senior lecturer of Kottala Defense University, and Mr. Bhagya Potechu, general manager of HCL Technologies, as our panelists. We warmly welcome you all. Further, we encourage all the delegates to actively engage with all speakers during the session. Feel free to ask questions, take notes, and make the most of opportunity to learn from their wisdom. Once again, it's truly honor to have you all here. Thank you all, and I hope you enjoy this enlightening session on the second day of Upskill 2023. Thank you. Over to you, Ranshika.
Thank you, Delmi, for giving an immaculate start for the event. Today, we have two segments lined up to flourish you guys with a vast knowledge of entrepreneurship. For the first session on entrepreneurial mindset, we have Mr. Rahul Nimesh on board, who is a successful entrepreneur with a strong focus on finance, digital media, and law. He founded Ceylon Exchange Mentoring to provide capital market education, which has grown to become Sri Lanka's largest provider with over 2,500 students. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome this outstanding personality, Mr. Rahul Nimesh, to the first segment of Upskill 2023 on day 2. Over to you, sir.
Hello, I hope you can all hear me. Thank you, Ranshika, for that description. And again, thanks for the opportunity by this entity for organizing sessions like this, because in this day and age, I believe that financial education, financial literacy has become one of the most important themes to be addressed, not just on an individual basis, but as a country moving forward. And I think in our case, not just in Sri Lanka, but if you look into the South Asian landscape, we can clearly see that even though our general literacy rate is high, our financial literacy rate is low. So thereby, I am very privileged for being invited to this session. And I'm really grateful that these sessions are being conducted so that more and more individuals are getting getting to know about the exact finances, what are the sort of investment opportunities there are, and in order to tackle the myths and taboos related to finance. And thereby, with that, I will give a small introduction about myself and what my entity does. And after that, we will then proceed to talk about the entrepreneurial mindset. And mainly today, based on the organizers, they wanted to cover what are the sort of investment opportunities and what are the personal finance goals and also the personal finance ethics that individuals can get, especially when they are starting at their young age. So thereby, these are the main things that I want to address. So first of all, I'll introduce myself again. I'm Rahul Nimesh Gunasekara. I am the co-founder and director of Ceylon Exchange Mentoring. Ceylon Exchange Mentoring started 3 years ago as a startup. We were mainly operating in the capital market education space. So we were doing sort of like corporate courses and also courses for the general public regarding the stock market, treasury bonds, treasury bills, debentures, commercial papers, repurchase agreements, covering all the investment opportunities that are there in the country. And with our success, we were also later able to get an investment from a foreign entity called Ataraxia Capital Partners. And with that investment, we were able to then later go into other ventures such as digital media as well. So currently we have 2 offices that are functioning, one in Colombo 7 and the other one in Colombo 8. And thereby, that's a little bit about ourselves. So what we want to now do is we want to get into this entrepreneurial mindset. And I think the first thing that we want to address with regards to this is a lot of people are not aware about the sort of financial opportunities they have. Now, first of all, I want to target the investment opportunities. Now, when we talk about investment opportunities, there are a lot. Okay. Some people might say, okay, you have real estate, you have the share market, then you have treasury bills and bonds. But you need to figure out, based on your age, based on your investment appetite, and also based on the financial risks that you're comfortable with, what sort of investment opportunity that you should choose. Because unfortunately, due to the Sri Lankan landscape and the way that our cultures have been functioned in certain ways, we have been restricted in this financial landscape. Now, if you look into the financial ecosystems, even in our neighboring countries, it's much more advanced. We are now getting into that level, but we are still far behind when it comes to this financial technology landscape. And that is why we still get to see a lot of disruptions in these online payments, in simple stuff like that. So thereby, I think the first thing that we need to figure out is, now mainly I believe that the target crowd here today are the young individuals who are planning to start their jobs, their interns, or who are undergraduates or who are already graduated. So thereby, what you need to figure out is what are the sort of investment opportunities that you should look into. Because most of the Sri Lankan families or most of the entities that are here in Sri Lanka will automatically push open a savings account, put your money into that, or open a fixed deposit account and put your money into that, which are good investment options. Not that they are bad, but I think as a resourceful individual, you have to figure out what are the investment opportunities that are there. And with that only, you will realize what is the opportunity cost, because you need to also figure out, okay, this is an investment opportunity that is available for me and this is suitable for me. And you can start with that. And with all these investment opportunity, if it doesn't work out, you can always, you can remove that and go with a new investment opportunity, because most of these investment opportunities, you can start with a low amount. Now, generally, when we talk about investment opportunities, there are a couple that we can exclude right away because of the minimum investment level. Now, for example, if you talk about treasury bills, treasury bonds, even real estate, things like that, you need a large amount of capital. So if you already have a large amount of capital or have a large amount of cash reserves with you, then these are good investment opportunities. But mainly today, I want to cover 2 main investment opportunities. That is the stock market, and the other one is mutual funds. And now, going with the stock market, I think it's very important, because now in the Sri Lankan market, we only have one stock market, and that is the Colombo Stock Exchange. And this Colombo Stock Exchange comprises of about 270 to 280 companies that we have. And these companies most of these companies have been there for some time. And the reason why I'm talking about the stock market first is because, one is that it is trending nowadays. And second of all, with the recent digitalization that we had, with the Colombo Stock Exchange, it is now very easy for someone to open an account and trade. But keep in mind, stock market is not something that someone can just go ahead and invest. Thereby, you need to learn what are the basics in it. So what I mainly want to do in the first couple of minutes is just to show you the overview, what the stock market is like, what are the opportunities that are like, what are the ways in which you can make gains in the stock market. You can make capital gains, you can make money via IPOs, SPOs, right issues, warrant shares. You have these other opportunities. You can make money via dividends as well. But it's about understanding this. It's about understanding this opportunity and learning this progressively and thereby investing. Okay, because no one can just go into the stock market and invest and make money, because it's also a different subject. But it's not rocket science. It's something that people can actually understand, and with the proper understanding that you gain over time. You have courses are being conducted by our institute. You have the Colombo Stock Exchange, you have the Securities Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka doing courses. So when you have these entities that are doing courses, and if you take part in them, you can get the basic knowledge in order to understand the Sri Lankan stock market. And generally speaking, this is only my personal opinion. Someone who has been analyzing the South Asian markets, you can see Sri Lankan stock market is a very volatile market. That means if you can time your trades, the investment gains that you can make is very high. But also, due to the uncertainty that we have in our political system, in our economic system, and in our social system, because these three systems are rooted together. Okay, the uncertainties that we can have in these three systems can also affect the stock market as well. Because very recently we saw a couple of years back in the 2019, 2020, 2021 period, our stock market was going at a record pace. And at one time, it became the world's best performing stock market, our Colombo Stock Market Index. Okay, and also because of the foreign currency issue that we had, the foreign reserves, and then the BOP issues that we had, it led to an economic crisis, which led to a social crisis, and thereby it caused political instability. As a result of that, the stock market also crashed during this time period, where a considerable amount of people and a considerable amount of entities lost capital if they sold their shares at that time. So stock market, our Sri Lankan stock market is a very volatile one, but the advantage now that people have is information is easily available. If you want to learn about the stock market, there are enough resources, paid ones and free ones. You can check them out when you're free, and thereby you can even start investing with a very low amount, because in most of the brokerage firms in Sri Lanka, you can start with 5,000 or 10,000. So thereby these are like sort of like the opportunities that you should look into. Now, when we are talking about the stock market, why should one look into the stock market? Because you might be like, we have fixed deposits and we have these other investment opportunities. The main reason why you should look into this is mainly related to the inflation rate of the country. Now, due to the unfortunate situations that we had, our inflation rate went to a very drastic high level. And at one time, our inflation rates were about 60 and 70%. Now, if you look into the central bank data, okay, you can see here very clearly. Okay, I hope all of you can see the screen. Now in here, you can see the blue line here and the purple line here. Okay, I'm not going to go too much into these indices. One is the NCPI, the other one is CCPI, National Consumer Price Index, and Colombo Consumer Price Index. These are like the two main indices that are being used by the central bank in order to measure the inflation of the country. And you can see, because of the instabilities that I mentioned, and because of the instabilities that we all faced as a community, the inflation of our country went over the roof. But you can see in the past couple of months, now the green line here and the orange line here showcases in the most recent months, our inflation is drastically going down. It's not that the price of goods and services are going down. That is not what's happening here. The rate of inflation is getting lower, and which is ideal for an economic, for any economy, because if the inflation rates are very high, businesses can't function properly, and even the consumers can't interact with the businesses efficiently. But when we are getting these inflation rates at these low levels, it showcases that we are heading towards an economic recovery. Okay, to what extent that is, we might have to wait for a while, but things are looking very promising up until now. So thereby you can see when the inflation rates are going down, Okay, it gives a good confidence for all the other markets. That's why if you look into even the Sri Lankan stock market, when the inflation started to go down, our market started to pick up bit by bit. But our stock market was mainly triggered by the press that was conducted by the central bank governor, where for the first time in 3 years, the Sri Lankan central bank reduced the interest rates. And that's a very key turning point here, because when an economic crisis happens in any country, the first thing that they do is usually increase the interest rates, because once they increase the interest rates, then fixed deposits, saving deposits are really good investments. So if you talk about 5-6 months back, FDs and saving deposits were really good investments. Why? Because interest rates were at very high levels. So thereby that's good. So that's what an economy usually does when they are normal other stuff are a bit unstable. So we are seeing these features not just in Sri Lanka, but even if you look into the US also, we are seeing historical increases in their interest rates as well. So this is something that has been happening all around the world. And now the interest rates are going down bit by bit. Okay, so thereby the fact that the inflation is going down and also the fact that our interest rates are going down, it gives a promising sign for investors that are here. And another reason why the Sri Lankan stock market is picking up these days is because of the domestic debt. Okay, and there's a domestic debt restructuring process that is taking place. I'm not going to highlight too much into this. Okay, but what you need to understand is, compared to other countries, the difference that we have in our domestic debt restructuring is that they have excluded commercial banks for now. Okay, because in other countries, usually commercial banks are also included in the domestic debt restructuring process. Now, for the ones who are not fully aware about what the domestic debt restructuring is, I'll just give you a basic understanding of how it works, just a basic understanding, so you can understand the concepts that we discuss later even better. So domestic debt restructuring is a process where now you know that our government has a lot of unstable loans. Okay, and we can easily categorize that into two: domestic and foreign. Now, out of the domestic debt that we have, one thing that the government can do is, because they are unable to pay at the ongoing rate, they can negotiate with the people who are holding this debt. Okay, they can negotiate by saying, look, we cannot go with the interest rate that we agreed earlier. Let's say 10%, it's a bit too high. Can we go down to 6%? Okay, so like that, they can cut down on interest rates. Another thing is they can get extended grace periods. For example, they can be like, look, we do not have the money to pay right now. Can you give us a grace period of 1 year? And from there onwards, we'll start paying. And then we also have something called haircuts, but haircuts weren't really used in this domestic debt restructuring. Haircuts is where they cut down on the capital amount. Let's say you give me a loan of 1 million, and let's say I am Sri Lanka and I do not have the ability to pay. I'm saying, look, I cannot give you 1 million, but I'll give you 600,000. So that's where you as an investor have to take that loss. Okay, but in this case, no major haircuts were taken, and also commercial banks were excluded. Now, the reason why I mentioned commercial banks time and time again here is because that is one of the main reasons why our stock market started to pick up. Because by chance, if commercial banks were included in the initial domestic debt restructuring process, their financials, their performance would have definitely gotten affected by the domestic debt restructuring. Okay, so by the domestic debt restructuring, our financial banks would have definitely gotten affected. But because they're excluded in the current scenario, only the Sri Lankan development bonds, EPF, ETFs, okay, treasury bills and bonds are currently being part of the domestic debt restructuring, is actually positive for the stock market. Okay, so thereby, if you look into our general stock market here, okay, if you look into a bit of a historical performance, you can see most of these days the market is going up drastically. Okay, so let me just show you the performance for the past couple of weeks. Our market is now picking up because of these reasons. Okay, now keep in mind, I don't want to dive too much into these details, but mainly what you need to understand is, because of the factors that I've mentioned, okay, our stock market is now starting to pick up. And thereby now, if you can see here, okay, what you're seeing here is the stock market index. We call this the ASPI. ASPI stands for all share price index. Okay. All share price index is the market index that measures all the stocks. Okay, there's a weighted calculation that they take into account, but for now, just keep in mind, all share price index is the market index that measures the entire market performance. And as you can see, from mid-May onwards, our market have now started to pick up drastically. Okay, our market have started to pick up drastically, and you can see this is a very strong movement or a momentum that we are seeing. And now you know the main reasons for that. Okay, because of the fact that our inflation is going down and our interest rates are also going down, and also because of the domestic debt restructuring process. Okay, keep in mind, okay, that these things fuel the market to go up. Why? Because it shows that we are on our way of recovery. Okay, we haven't fully recovered yet, we are nowhere close to that, but we are getting some major giant leaps towards our economic recovery, which is positive for the stock market, which is positive for the economic sentiment, and thereby that's why people are more interested in buying. Okay, so the main reason why the stock markets go up like this is because the amount of buying or the amount of demand is high. In economics, we call that speculative demand. Okay, so when the demand is high, the stock market starts to go up. Why? Because everyone wants to take part in the market. And another important thing is, if you look into turnover figures, now this is the turnover figure for today. So this is about 3.8 billion LKR, but this turnover figure have also been drastically high in the past couple of days, and that is a major indicator that a lot of people are entering the stock market, and even the ones who are there in the stock market are also trading at high volumes. Okay, so thereby the stock market is definitely one of the interesting places for people to see whether it matches their investment appetite or not. Now, what you need to figure with the stock market is that this is not a subject where you can just open an account, start trade randomly and make profits. Unfortunately, this is not how it works, because you need to have some sort of understanding of how the market works, and especially how our market is connected with our economy. That's where the key is. Because if you know with these sort of economic policies, these sort of companies are benefiting, you can then have more higher probability of making profits in the market. Sometimes there are times where the market also randomly swings as well. That's because of, again, the massive volatility that comes in. So this is, if you talk about the risk reward ratio here, this is where the risk is also comparatively high with all the other investment opportunities that you have. But if you can target your trades, your returns are also high. Okay, so in our entity, we do 5 stock market courses. From beginner level, we have intermediate and advanced, and all of the intermediate and advanced sessions are conducted by the leading analysis that are in Sri Lanka. They are already working in leading brokerage firms, and both of the lecturers that we have are already they are the ones who are teaching the brokers how to do these sort of analysis and that. So thereby we have a very strong lecture panel that are doing these sort of sessions that will teach you to navigate from the stock market from A to Z. But in terms of understanding, this is the potential behind the stock market. But also I need to show you that our markets, as I mentioned beforehand, is very volatile. Now, if you look into the 10-year history, you can see, especially in these past couple of years, our volatility is high. Other international markets don't have these sort of drastic movements, most of them. Okay, so thereby in our local market, this is something that you can expect, drastic movements. But that also means that there is more trading opportunities for the people who can master it. Okay, and if you are not doing proper trades without understanding, that also can lead you to a lot of losses. So therefore, you need to understand these sort of risks, and then thereby decide whether you want to come to the market or not. But the best way to always do is you can start trading after you learn these stuff. I think within about 5,000 or 10,000, now you can open an account with a brokerage firm. You can put a limited amount of capital and see whether this is your investment appetite or not, because for some individuals it is not, but for some individuals this is a really good way of making a secondary income. And the advantage in our Sri Lankan stock market is, even if the markets are going down, we still have considerable upward movements that come along the way. Now, even if you see here, you can see there are movements like that, and even if a market goes up, there are pullbacks like this. So thereby, in terms of investment opportunities, our market is filled. So thereby, it's up to you to see whether this is an investment opportunity that matches you, and thereby you can, analyze about this further and go ahead. So as you know, in the stock market, there are mainly two ways of making investment gains. One is capital gains and the other one is dividends. Now, when it comes to capital gains is very simple. That's where you're buying a share at a low price and you're selling a share at a higher price. And then you have something called dividends as well. Okay. Dividends, in very simple terms, is where, okay, I'm not going to go too much into it, but just for you to understand it on a simple basis, just, for understanding purposes, keep in mind that this is a situation where a company accumulates a large amount of cash, maybe via reserves, maybe via profits, maybe via other, to distribute this profit or this cash among shareholders. So thereby, for you holding a share, you will get free money from the company as a result of being a shareholder. So thereby, we call those sort of dividends cash dividends. We also have another type of dividend called scrip dividends. Scrip dividends is where instead of cash, they give you additional shares. Okay. So like that, these are the main ways that you can also make profit within the market. Okay. So in terms of understanding the stock market, I've only just given you a basic insight of what the stock market is and how this potential is like. But this is what you need to understand if you feel like this is a really good investing opportunity. Now, you guys can send me any questions you have related to the stock market. I'll be happy to clarify and answer all of those questions. And meanwhile, what we can also do is I want to talk about another important and underrated fund. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll give you about a minute. You can send me across all the questions you have. And from there, we will then answer those questions. And I want to talk about mutual funds, because this is probably one of the most attractive investment instruments that we have. And the unfortunate thing about these things is a lot of other South Asian countries invest in mutual funds. But in Sri Lanka, the rate is still low. We only have even a handful number of corporates that are investing in this. So I will then explain, after answering those questions, about mutual funds, which is an investment opportunity that you can start right away, which is comparatively low risk. So thereby, you can first send me the questions that you have. I'll give you about a minute. And from there, we will continue. Okay, I have received a couple of questions. Can you explain about Binance also a bit? Okay, so Binance is a crypto exchange platform I'm not gonna dwell too much time on crypto because for most individuals, it is a very high risk investment instrument, and also the speculative nature of it is very high. And especially we have seen this with the unfortunate incidents that have happened in the crypto world. Okay, because you might have seen a couple of large crypto firms, okay, having major crashes, and as a result of that there were massive crashes in the crypto market overall. And the main reason for that is because crypto markets are mainly speculative. Okay, they lack fundamentals. Now, for example, the main difference between the stock market and a crypto market is you're always investing in a company that is operating, that is functioning, that has employees, that has a operational process, that has a cash flow. But in a crypto instrument, you're investing in something where a value is being put by, you know, without any on a fundamental basis. So for example, if you let's take a Bitcoin, it's just you and me who are deciding what this is valued at. Yes, there are a couple of things that does value the, you know, a crypto, such as the technology, the backend used behind it. But if you just put those aside, those are minor factors. If you look into the overall bigger picture, it's just you and me based on the demand and supply that will determine values for crypto. So thereby crypto is something where you have to be very vigilant when you're investing. And also there are the restrictions or the government procedure for these sort of stuff are not properly regulated, in the meaning that now all the stock market, all these sort of ones are fully regulated. Okay, these are fully being monitored by the Securities Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka. And let's say if a broker or if some other party mismanages your money, you don't have to worry. There is a the government will repay your capital 100%. There's a separate fund for that. That is called the Securities Exchange Commission Compensation Fund. So thereby there is full guarantee of these sort of investments, guarantee in the sense in terms of risk, in terms of these other risks, where you have no scams and no frauds here, because everything is being properly monitored in and out. But with crypto, that is not the case, because you know these platforms are open for everyone, and there is still no regulatory body still to properly mandate this. So thereby Binance is where you can also buy and exchange crypto also. But again, crypto markets are far more harder to understand, and also it's also because of that speculative nature. Okay, these ones are very, volatility is high. So what people usually do is people apply technical analysis for those instead of fundamental analysis. A fundamental analysis is where you and I will sit down and discuss, look, we have this bank here. Okay, let's say we have commercial bank. We look into, okay, this is the amount of assets they have, this is the amount of customer base, these are the sort of initiatives that they are doing to increase the customer base. Okay, these are the sort of government policies that will help commercial bank to make more profits in the future. This is where you and I will sit down and discuss the actual things that are happening for the company to actually grow in value in the long run. Okay, so thereby this is fundamental analysis. You can also apply technical analysis to stocks as well, because there's also a very important speculative part in stocks as well. But when it comes to crypto, people use technical analysis. I'm pretty sure you might have seen where people just use chart patterns mainly to determine where this crypto is heading. So based on that, you can do buy and sell transactions via the Binance platform. So what a lot of people do is they have investing.com on the side. Usually for Sri Lankan stocks also, we use investing.com. And what you can do is, let's say you're interested in a certain coin here. Okay, give me a minute. I'll just load it from my other browser. So what people usually do is they load it via, what people do in crypto is they use platforms like investing.com to do analysis. And after doing analysis, what they do is they then go to Binance and then do the trading part there. Okay. So in these sort of stuff, what you can do is if you just type a coin. For now, I'm just going to go with the Bitcoin USD. people load, you can see technical chart here. People look into the technical analysis of it. And from a investing perspective, you need to understand that technical analysis is very risky, because you and I are just looking into historical chart patterns and other indicators to determine whether this is going to go up or not. Okay, so what people would usually do is they will use indicators for this. You can see there are a lot of indicators. People will use indicators like the relative strength index, and then people will use moving average, convergence, divergence. Okay, they'll use Bollinger Bands. Okay, like that, parabolic SAR. They'll use these sort of indicators to determine what's going to happen in the future. Now, this is what you need to also understand.
Recording in progress.
In these sort of cases, okay, that crypto is very risky. Okay, because people don't look into news, or the amount of news that is affecting crypto is very low. People are, for crypto, you have to be very good in technical analysis like this, where you can see, okay, this is what's going to happen. These are resistance levels, support levels. This is going to go up from here. This is going to go down from here. So they are going to use these sort of signals in order to identify whether we are supposed to buy this or not. Okay, that's how usually the crypto market works. So for example, I'll just give you a brief as to how they do it, so you can also see, but don't apply these when you're doing trading. But you can see whenever these two lines cross each other, we say it's a buy signal. Okay, and whenever the blue line crosses over the red line, we say that's a sell signal. So what usually people do is, this is just a basic technical analysis. People don't do technical analysis like this. It's much more in-depth, but this is just to show you. So what they do is they use this as a buying signal. They use this as a selling signal. So they say, okay, buy at 29,400 USD, and then you can sell at around just short of 300,000 USD. And that's going to be your profit. But you can understand that the entire decision that I made was solely based on these chart patterns. And these chart patterns can easily go the other way around, because these are solely based on demand and supply. Okay, if the demand and supply of these are getting heavily affected, these chart patterns don't mean anything, especially in the short run. So that's why crypto is very risky, but it's also another investment opportunity as well. But the unfortunate thing with crypto is that these things are not being properly, there is no proper guideline. You can go to Binance and invest, but in like other investments, for example, real estate, treasury bonds, treasury bills, stock market, there is no proper mandate that we should follow. So thereby it's still a very unregulated area. It's not that it's illegal, but it's also not legal. Okay, because that's one thing that you also have to understand when you're talking about those sort of investments. Okay, so what people do is they do these sort of analysis and they figure out, okay, this is a good coin to buy at this price, and then they do the trading via Binance. So Binance is where they just put the price that they want to buy, the amount of quantity, and then they do the purchase. Okay, so this is what a technical analysis looks like. And again, you can see the red line have crossed here over the blue line. So that is a buy signal very recently. Okay, so you can see they've told to buy at this, but people will use much more indicators just to confirm whether this is an actual signal or not, because there are a lot of false signals as well. Okay, so thereby that's what you need to understand with regards to crypto. Okay, how to start learn about trading? Yes, so trading, as I mentioned, in our entity, we are Sri Lanka's largest capital market education provider. You can go to our website, or you can even drop a message to our Instagram page. We have courses that cover everything. If you want to learn about the stock market, you have that, personal finance, technical analysis. We also have, treasury bills, treasury bonds, commercial paper courses. So we have courses for everything. Some of them are only available for corporates, but if you are really interested in learning about that, you can contact us and we will give you access to those sessions. Okay, so you can always find more information about our entity via our website and via our Instagram page as well. So thereby you can see all the courses that we have. We do a couple of AI courses as well. Okay, recently we've started venturing into that space, and this is our Instagram page. We also post a lot of stock market news as well. So you might have seen, we have a lot of stock market related content talking about the Sri Lankan economy, Sri Lankan companies, and also other global company performances as well. So that's mainly from our research team that is being done. So thereby, if you're interested in learning about these, you can go with us, or you also have the Colombo Stock Exchange and the Securities Exchange Commission as well. Those two entities also do their own set of courses as well. Okay, so if you're interested, you can just contact those entities and see which course matches you, and thereby proceed from there. Okay, and the other important, as I mentioned, there's another investment opportunity that I want to talk about, and that is mutual funds. Because I'm pretty sure if I ask most individuals, because I do a lot of corporate sessions and stuff, people don't know. A lot of people have actually heard mutual funds, but one is they don't know what mutual funds are, and second of all, after getting to know, they start to invest. Now, mutual funds, keep in mind, is a investment instrument that is being registered by the government. Okay, so thereby what happens in a mutual fund is there are instances where for many professionals in various fields, one is they don't have enough time to invest. Okay, because in the stock market also you need to have some sort of time. Okay, at least a couple of 50 minutes, 20 minutes that you can give for a day. So there are some individuals, in various industries, they can't give that time. And also there are other individuals who are not interested in learning about that. That's also important. They're not interested about learning about the stock market, but they want to get that benefit. So thereby, the best way to surpass this is by investing in a mutual fund. Now, keep in mind, all the leading banks offer mutual funds. Okay, all the leading banks offer mutual funds, and also there are other entities that have mutual funds as well. Even we are also handling the operations of one mutual fund. So if you're interested in that, you can also invest. What is a mutual fund? A mutual fund is where they will collect a pool of money. Okay, let's say we have 3 investors called ABC. They will collect their funds, and from that fund, we will do the investment. Okay, and there are type of funds. Okay, so mainly you have the share market fund, or we call it the equity market fund, where the money is being taken here, and thereby we invest in the stock market on behalf of you, and thereby based on the returns that we are making, a certain percentage will be given to you. Okay, I am just gonna highlight the basic way that this happens, so you can learn about this more and see whether this matches you. So this service is being given by all the leading private banks. You have NDB, Sampath Bank, Commercial Bank, who are giving this service, and which is very good. You know why? Because your investment is managed by investment managers, or we call them portfolio managers in our country. Portfolio managers are individuals who have massive expertise in handling funds, and every portfolio manager is registered in the Securities Exchange Commission. It's not like some random person is handling your money. Every portfolio manager is being registered by the Securities Exchange Commission as well. Okay, and thereby these entities have a very strict mandate that they should follow. There are a lot of legal compliances that they should also follow. So thereby, in terms of money, the legal aspect, this is very secure, because everything is being monitored to the maximum. And the other advantage in this is you can start as low as 1000 LKR. Let's say you want to put money in the equity market fund. That is the market fund where they will collect your money and put it into the stock market. You can start with 1000. That's the minimum level. And the biggest advantage is, now let's say you put money in a FD. Okay, if you put money in a fixed deposit, you cannot take the money back unless in a case of emergency, unless you have to pay a penalty or something related to that. But with a mutual fund, within 24 hours of notice, you can get your funds back. anytime. There is no penalty, there is no waiting time. You can just have to drop an email within 24 hours you can, and at some instance you can even get it within 2-3 hours. And now a lot of Sri Lankan corporates, what we have seen is a lot of Sri Lankan corporates are now starting to put their money in mutual funds, because the mutual fund business in India is massive. In India, it is very accessible because their mobile operators give mutual fund opportunities. Even if you use Dialog also, they also give mutual funds. I'm pretty sure you might have seen via the Dialog Genie app, you can also invest in mutual funds. In India, it's a massive investment. Usually every normal individual and every company is investing in their mutual funds. That's why if you look into a lot of Indian channels, they have a lot of mutual fund advertisements, especially at their peak times. So thereby, this is now something that is starting to be picked up in Sri Lanka. And this is sort of if you check now, if you compare this with the share market, okay, the share market is also a bit fun. If you are someone who can give that time, it's also a very fun thing to do. But let's say it's not your thing, you don't have the enough time, and you're not really interested in learning about the economics and the basic other stuff, then your mutual funds is a really good way to go at it. And the best thing to do is you can just contact these mutual funds and ask what are the rates that they are giving. Now keep in mind, some will have fixed rates, some will have variable rates. Okay, so thereby your performance can differ. There are some mutual funds where, okay, when our market is going up, now for example, if you look into 2020, there were some mutual funds that gave over 30% return. Okay, over 30%. That is, massive returns. But also there are funds where that make, very small losses also, but those are very rare. Usually every fund in Sri Lanka makes profit because we don't have a lot of funds, and all the funds are being managed by the leading financial institutions in the country. So thereby, this is a really good thing to invest in. And there are other funds also, if you go and check out, okay, if you want to, let's say, get access to other sort of investment opportunities. Let's say you want to do real estate. Okay, now these sort of investment opportunities are not currently open, but they will be opening very soon. But let's say now a massive problem with real estate is you need a lot of capital. But what you can do is you can put your money to a real estate mutual fund. Okay, and after doing that, you can get the profits from that real estate business. So for example, if you put 1000 LKR to the mutual fund, and if they are ready to give you about 5% of the profit, then you can make about 50 LKR, okay, with this mutual fund. So thereby, this also gives opportunities for people to invest in other instruments that were previously not available. Now, for example, to invest in treasury bonds and bills, last time I checked, it was about 5 million, the minimum investment level. Now, 5 million is not an amount that most people are comfortable with, especially when they are starting off. But if you want to still invest in treasury bills and bonds, you can do that via a mutual fund, because they will invest on behalf of you, and they are not just collecting your money, they are collecting other investors' money as well. So thereby they have a massive pool of funds. So we have a large amount of mutual fund companies. Okay, they are mainly related to the banks here, and then we have Capital Alliance, then we have Arpico Ataraxia. These sort of companies offer these sort of funds. So this is something that you should really look out for, because the easiest thing you can do is just ask for their previous performance, and then you can see for yourself, these are the sort of returns that people have made in the previous year. So most probably, that's also going to be you can also get an idea about what are the sort of returns that you can make. Now, for the stock market funds, they slightly change because it's based on market performance, but they usually tend to outperform the market. Let's say for now, our stock market went from, let's say, from January 1st to August 1st. Let's say our stock market went up by 15%. We usually say this is the sort of average that you can make. This is the ASPI gain I'm talking about. Okay, and usually all the mutual funds in Sri Lanka, if it's 15%, they can perform well above that. 17%, 18%. There are definitely going to be funds that are going to underperform. They will be like 12%, 13%. But there are other funds that will give you 17%, 18%. Okay, so thereby this is the opportunity that people, I think, should really focus, because mutual fund is a massive business in other international markets. Even if you look into the US, a lot of people invest in something called index funds. I'm pretty sure you might have heard. They invest in something called index funds. Unfortunately, we don't have something called index fund, but we have something which is very similar, that we call it a mutual fund. Okay, and the mutual funds business, this is, mainly they are in other South Asian countries also. So therefore, what you need to understand is, you can just check out these companies. Just type the mutual funds that are available in Sri Lanka, just see the rates that they are giving, and you can start investing, because you just have to fill in an online application and just deposit 1,000 LKR, because the infrastructure for this is set very securely. You don't have to worry. The people who are managing your funds, they are properly qualified, they are properly registered under the Securities Exchange Commission. So thereby, in terms of safety, it is very high. So that is what you mainly need to understand. We handle, again, if you are interested in mutual funds, we handle the operations of Apico Atraxia. So thereby, that's also, again, one of the leading funds that we have. So thereby, if you are interested in investing in those, you can let us know, and we will then, guide you through those processes. So you can see, as of 7th July, you can see the cash management trust fund. The yield for that is 20%. Okay, so that is like the sort of return you could have made if you started from January 1st to the 7th of July. So this is what you need to understand. I'm not gonna dwell too much time on this, because there are other sort of concepts that you should know. But in order for you to get a bit, basic understanding and learn and start learning about this is a good step. Okay, so you can see here, equity income fund is also at about 1%, 1.3 per month. Okay, like that you can see. And one important thing here is, can you see, if you look at the benchmark return, when our market has gone down, generated you profits still. Can you see? Benchmark has gone down, even though our market have gone down. These have given you a higher return still. So thereby, this is what I told you. They usually tend to outperform the market. The website and just check all the relevant details you want. And I'm just showing you, the one that we are handling the operation. But there are many other well-established mutual funds as well. So I urge you all to check these out and start investing with mutual funds. Okay, so if you go to their website, you can see the funds that they have. You can see minimum investment 1,000, withdraw anytime. Selling price and buying price, you'll understand this later as you invest. Basically, if you are buying, this is what you have to pay. So what you're basically buying is, you're buying a unit. Okay, so imagine, for example, let's say you want to put 1,000 rupees. One unit is currently at 8.7. Okay, you're buying a unit of the equity income fund. One unit is at about 8.7, so you can buy one for 8.7. Okay, and what you can do is, you can buy, if you want to buy one, or if you can buy worth up to 1,000, you can. And when this fund starts to perform well, the value of the unit you have will go up, and you can just come to this page and check, okay, what is the selling price, or what is the value of my unit? And then you will see the 8.7 here will become 9, 9.5, 10, 12 over time. And when it comes to 12, you can then sell and get the profit, and keep the cash with you. Or if you want to reinvest, that's up to you. So thereby, that's how it works here. You're buying a unit at the ongoing price, and when this fund starts to perform well, now equity income fund is where they have bought stocks. No, so when the stocks that they have bought, when those go up, okay, your fund will also go up, or the unit that you have will go up. So thereby, you can sell all the units at a higher price and get a much more higher return. So thereby, this is what you need to understand. And with all of these, they have a custodian as well. That means another safeguard bank as well, in order to check, whether this is happening properly, the monetary transactions and stuff. So thereby, you can check these out later on when you're free. and thereby, start investing in these. Because I think when people talk about, so we are at the latter part of the stage. So what we want to mainly, understand is when we talk about investment opportunities, there are a lot. Okay, people will talk about, various opportunities, and I've also displayed or showed a lot of opportunities as well. But it's up to you to figure out which sort of opportunity that you want to go ahead with, or which you want to start with. And I think for someone who's starting out, the stock market or the mutual fund are definitely two things that you should look into. And I think mutual fund should be, I'm not saying mandatory, but I think everyone should look into it, because when we look into these other international markets, every other international corporate puts their reserves in a mutual fund. But in Sri Lanka, that is still not the case. But now we are seeing a drastic increase. Okay. So thereby, I think mutual funds is something that you should look into, because the risk of that is very low. Okay. The risk of that is very low. Very rarely only, some of these funds are mismanaged, but those things happen very rarely. But if you go with a leading bank, that that risk is also going to get even lower. Okay, so thereby these are sort of investment opportunities you need to look out for. And I think a couple of things that I want to also highlight before we wrap up the session is try to diversify your investment. Okay, now the amount that you want to save is totally up to you. That's based on your personal preference, your personal, life, and your personal values. You can save any amount. And from that, when you are investing, also always try to diversify. Keep a FD, keep a mutual fund. And if you want to invest in addition to that, maybe to real estate or to the stock market, you can do that as well. And that's a really good thing. And the other thing that I also want to highlight is, with the stock market, don't look at it from a short-term perspective. Always look at it from a long-term perspective. Now, these days, the markets are going up. Don't just look into that and see, okay, I'm always going to make profits if you invest in the market. Because it's no lie, if you have been investing in the market for the past 2 weeks, you would have made massive profits, because our markets was going up at a skyrocketing level. But those things don't happen oftenly. You always need to look at the market from a long-term perspective. There are going to be times where the markets are going to go down drastically. And during those times, the amount of profits or the amount of money that you have will be at a loss. Okay, so it's always going to be a balance between those two. But you have to be an intelligent investor to maximize your profits and to minimize your losses. Okay, because there is no way in which you can always avoid losses. Okay, losses is something that any investor gets. Even if we trade 10 times, we are going to make 7 times profit or 3 times losses. But that's also, on average. Sometimes we might make 8 or 9 times losses, even the markets are going down. So it totally depends on the market understanding. And therefore, the advice that I need to give you is look it from a long-term perspective. Because I think the main thing that we want to highlight here is the entrepreneurship mindset. Because the other panelists, I'm pretty sure they'll give you much more detail, in-depth as well. And I think there are the entrepreneurs that are here that they already have their companies in the stock market. So I'm pretty sure they can give you more insights as to how the stock market helped their company in order to raise capital, like that. So even if you have your own business, stock market listing is one thing you could look into. Or even if you're looking into other investments also, there are now a lot of investment opportunities that are there more than before. Because when we were going for a funding, we only had a couple of investors to approach. But nowadays, I think from Hatch, there are international investors approaching. Then there are these accelerator programs that are being conducted by John Kills also. Now, I think the business, not the major big business, but the small business landscape is changing. Where, even for us, for small businesses like us, we were able to scale because of these opportunities we are now getting. So I think that's one thing that you should look into, that from a long-term perspective, try to look at these investment opportunities. And the last thing that I want to say is, this is, I think, a very unfortunate thing to address, which is financial scams. Now, when I do a lot of corporate sessions, you will be surprised to see how much of individuals get caught up in these financial scams. And these are not individuals without, these are individuals that have had proper educational qualifications, who are, who are very well known
they know the things in their markets and stuff, but still the amount of people who get caught to these financial scams is astounding. And that's mainly because of the lack of financial knowledge from our end, from as individuals. And the other issue is there's a lack of financial regulatory network also that is there. But I think the government and the central bank is now pushing up on that. Because if you look into the news, I think recently even we saw there were pyramid scams where, some scams were even exceeding 60, 70 million. Sometimes it's very hard to, believe how those sort of scams can go up to those sort of extents. So thereby, it just shows that there are a large number of financial scams that are still there. So thereby, with regards to everything that I've taught you so far, and one thing that you might have seen is always look into the financial regulatory side. See whether this is a regulated instrument. Now, the reason why I didn't highlight crypto too much, because it's not a regulated instrument. It's not illegal to invest, nor is it illegal. It's still on the very gray area. Okay. Even when the central bank gives out an announcement, it's very ambiguous. It's hard for us to figure whether they want it legal or not. Okay, so thereby we have to be very cautious. So that's why even when I'm talking about these investment opportunities, I talked about the legal side first. Look, this is properly being mandated. There's a proper governing body. This is being registered. This is how it happens. Because if you look into that in any business, you don't have to worry. Then your investment, from that financial scam and from that financial fraud side is safe. So thereby mainly those are the things that I wanted to wrap up. So I hope all of you enjoyed my session. And again, thanks for the host entity for conducting these sort of sessions, because I think financial literacy is something that we have to push so that we can move along as a country. And I think these sort of business programs, I think, you guys are conducting other programs as well. And I wish you success in those programs, because I think we need these sort of things for us to go forward as a nation. So with that, I will wrap up my session. So thank you for joining. Take care. Bye.
Okay, so let's wait and see whether our audience has many more questions. So it's time for Q&A session. And guys, if you have any concerns now, it's time to clarify those doubts. And if you have any questions, now you can just put them in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask as well. Okay, so seems like we have a question. Can you see that?
Yeah. As an undergraduate with financial hardships, what are some easy methods to step into the financial market? Okay. So I think that's a very important thing to address, because I think as undergraduates, when we are starting off, we don't have a lot of capital. And usually what we usually say is now, once you start to do an internship or, starting with your job, you get a certain amount of savings. So we, we usually recommend a limited amount of those savings, put them into various investments and see which one works out. But, if you want to start right away, I think one good way is mutual funds, because the minimum investment is 1,000. It's actually not about you making money at first, because keep in mind, these are not instruments where that will make you crazy rich. These are instruments that will slowly build your wealth. And because these minimum investment levels are at 1,000 for most of these mutual funds, not with all mutual funds, it's actually 1,000. So you can start off with 1,000. So the biggest advantage you have there is you get familiar with how the mutual system works, or how this mutual fund system works. And after you get that familiarity, you can apply it when you get a higher amount of cash with you, or when you get more capital with you. Okay. So I think that's one way. Or the other way is, if you now look into the stock market also, there are these paid courses, and also there are these courses that are, I think, done on YouTube also. Okay. That I have seen a couple of channels also, I think Investor Think, those sort of channels, they do really good content. They guide from A to Z also, where you can also learn. So by joining into those which are free of charge, you can also learn how the market operates. And thereby there are some brokerage firms that offer minimum investment levels at very low levels. So I think last time when I did the session, I think NDB Securities, First Capital usually offer these trading services for about 5,000 or 10,000. So thereby, after learning from that, you can then collect some sort of capital, about 5,000, and also start investing. Again, it's not about making money at first. It's about you getting familiar with the system. Because once you're familiar, when opportunity comes in the future, you know how to position yourself in order to capitalize on that opportunity. Okay. So that's a really good question that was asked. If you have any more questions, yeah, you can send it to the chat box as well.
Yes, guys, if you have any question. Yes, great.
What inspired you to step into Binance? Unfortunately, I don't trade crypto. I mainly limit myself to the Sri Lankan stock market and for the other investment opportunities that are there, such as mutual funds. So I'm not someone who is active in the crypto market. Therefore, my crypto knowledge is very low as well. But because I've studied crypto, markets, news like that, I know how Binance work to a very limited extent. But it's not a market that suits me. So that's why I told you for different investors, there are different appetites. So I think my is where Sri Lankan stock market. I also do, sort of analysis for startup funding as well for other sort of stuff. So that is where my interest is. So capital markets, the stock market, treasury bills and bonds. Then the mutual funds are the ones that are mainly inspired, that I got inspired about, where I got into it. Unfortunately, I was not really into the crypto market because I've done a lot of studies, and again it doesn't match, because I'm a person where I need news, fundamental factors, and then I need to visualize it, how it affects these companies. Because if you now look into the Sri Lankan market, I can tell you, look now, for example, look at the international oil prices, look at Brent crude oil, look at West Texas Intermediate. That is affecting global oil commodity prices, and that is affecting Lanka IOC. And when that gets affected, Lanka IOC stock is also going up and down like that. That is how my way of analysis works usually when you work in the Sri Lankan stock market. But with Binance and crypto, it's totally different. It's where you look into technicals. As I showed you charts. You need to look into chart patterns like that in order to understand what your investment is and where you want your investment headed. But also keep in mind, very recently we had a massive crypto crash. Okay, because I'm pretty sure you might have all heard. It was all over the news when one of the biggest crypto exchange platforms, second biggest at that time, had a massive crash. Okay, where the owner and everyone was there. Now I think the US jurisdiction is handling it. So thereby, as a result of that, as a result of just one news, the entire crypto market came crashing down. So I think those are things that you should look into. So those markets are very volatile, very sensitive as well. But again, it's sometimes some people find those sort of markets attractive. That's what I told you. For each individual, your investment appetite is different. So if the high risk, high reward is your thing, then maybe the international crypto market is for you. But again, with Sri Lankan stocks, there are stocks that have performed well, more than most of the crypto coins that you have. So if you look into 2019 to 2022, 2023 performances, some of our companies have skyrocketed as well. So thereby you could look into those, compare, always analyze and see what sort of investment is the best for you.
Guys, if you have any question, you can ask now as well. And you can unmute yourselves too. Okay, it seems like the questions have ended now. Great. So actually, sir, we are out of words to express our gratitude to you, sir. Thank you so much for sharing a valuable experience with us. And your words truly inspired us. And I'm sure that all the participants who were there with us throughout the event have learned a bunch of things that guide them to be successful industrialists in the real world. So it's time to present the token of appreciation for our guest speaker for the first talk session of the day. Thank you so much, sir, for that inspirational session. And it is a great pleasure to have you as one of our guest speakers of the day. Once again, thank you, sir, for dedicating time for us to make this event memorable. As a sign of gratitude, please accept the digital token of appreciation we have prepared for you. Okay, thank you very much, sir. And it is not the end of the series yet, but we have got a panel discussion which is prepared just for you coming up soon. And to keep remembering this moment, we are now ready for a quick group photo. And I kindly invite to all you to turn on your cameras. And the virtual background has been shared and it will be shared now in the chat box. So you can download it and set it as your virtual background. I shall give you guys a minute. And if you're unable to set the virtual background, that's totally fine. You can just join with the photo as well. So I request you guys to turn on your cameras now. Okay then. Any more to turn on your cameras? Okay then. So on my count, let's smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much for joining the group photo. And thank you again, Mr. Rahul Nimesh, for accepting our invitation. And your presence here is honestly appreciated as well. Guys, wait for a few minutes because we are going to start another panel discussion within a few minutes. Start a minute. Stay a minute. Okay. Here we have come to our second session of the day, and it's time to ignite the spark of intellectual curiosity once again. The panel discussion ahead will be a captivating voyage of ideas and knowledge where distinguished experts and open minded enthusiasts will converge to explore the depths of our chosen topic. With the exchange of insights and the clash of perspectives, we are bound to unlock fresh horizons of understanding. So, let's immerse ourselves in this debating discussion and may the currents of wisdom carry us to new shores of enlightenment. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to hand over the reins to our esteemed moderator of the day, who will skillfully navigate us through this enriching panel discussion. Please welcome the Secretary of SL Inspire IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka for the year 2023, Yumi Pereira. Over to you, Yumi.
Thank you, Ranshika, for that warm introduction. Good evening, everyone, and a warm greeting to each and every one of you. I'm thrilled to moderate this esteemed panel discussion of successful entrepreneurs and experts who will share their knowledge and experiences on this journey of entrepreneurial success. Before we dive into our discussion, let me introduce our esteemed panelists. First, we have Mr. Dulit, the founder and the chairman of Caprica Holdings PLC, and a multifaceted leader known for revolutionizing e-commerce and empowering communities through his endeavors. Welcome, Mr. Dulit.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Our next panelist is Dr. Nirosha Vidasinghe, an IT specialist and a senior lecturer at General Sir John Kuthalawala Defence University. Her passion for technology and expertise in the world of IT has been empowering minds to embrace the digital era. Welcome, Mr. Nirosha. I guess Mr. Nirosha will join within a few minutes, so let's go with the next panelist for now. Finally, we have Mr. Bhagya Boteju, the General Manager of HCL Technologies Lanka Private Limited. With his vast knowledge and skills in leadership, he has been making a significant contribution to the industrial landscape. Welcome, Mr. Bhagya.
Yep, thank you. Thanks for having me. Hope you can hear me well as well.
Yeah, we can hear you, Mr. Bhagya.
Brilliant.
Throughout our discussion, we'll explore three key aspects, namely innovation and resilience, networking and collaboration, and persistence and survival. Each panelist will address specific questions related to these themes. So, without further ado, let's begin our panel discussion on unleashing entrepreneurial success. To start off, Mr. Dulit, as a founder of Caprica, which is a well-known brand today, could you share with us how you came up with the idea of starting such a diverse e-commerce business platform? What drove you to embark this journey?
Yeah, so Yumi, what I embarked into is really an industry. Okay, so e-commerce is an industry, automotive is an industry, leisure is an industry, real estate is an industry. So there are a lot of industries, and maybe in the recent past, a newcomer to the block, if you take the last 20 years, e-commerce is that industry. So I just happened to be one of the very early players in Sri Lanka. I think we started in like 2004, even when e-commerce was brand new or not even existing properly in India. So I was a very early starter. But now what we have achieved is actually a brand name that you can do a lot of other things under. Like if you take Amazon today, I mean, they are not just doing e-commerce, they are doing lots of other things. They are doing from Amazon Web Services to you name it, they do a lot of other things. So you can take a company that is 100 years old, like something like Tata. They started in one industry, but now they're doing so many things, but it's under Tata, right? So they have that brand. So what I embarked in, again, is an industry of e-commerce. And out of that, we have got a brand. Now under the brand, we can do multiple ventures, and that's what we have.
Thank you, Mr. Dulit. It was truly inspiring. So as in worldwide, we have Amazon. In Sri Lanka, we have Caprica, which is about to develop worldwide. So that was truly inspiring. Now, could you also tell us how you foster a culture of innovation within your organization? And perhaps share with us an example of how encouraging innovative thinking has positively impacted your business or your team.
You're asking about innovation within the company. Is that
Yes.
okay? So I think one of the first things that I try to do if I want to get innovation out of a team, I mean, look, a couple can be maybe a larger company, but look at a company with just 3 or 4 people. Like it's a smaller company. It's easy to then understand this theory. What I first do is, if the team is stressed, if there is stress in their mind, and if their top priority is, having too much pressure on them, there's not going to be any innovation. No matter how much you push them, no matter how much videos you show, no matter how many new ideas you throw at them, if the team is stressed out about something, I will not get innovation out. So the first thing I actually do is I de-stress the team. Like for example, I know our finance team these days is really stressed out because there's an annual general meeting coming. They have to do the annual report, and there are so many deadlines in this. So this month, there's really no point talking to this team much about innovation. And there's nothing going to come out. So I'm going to wait and time myself until one of their biggest milestones are over. Now I know the team is relaxed. Then I'm going to talk about switching to an open source ERP in our system from Oracle. So it's a big deal, but to do something big like that, I need to first relax the team. I think the next thing I would say is, in companies I've seen, so there are owners, and there's the higher management, and then there's the rest of the company. I've seen the owners have a different vision. Their priorities are different. The top management has another path. They are going on a different path, and then there are the rest of the company are going on another path. So there's actually 3 paths that in a company that people are trying to walk on. So I try to get them all onto the same path. The wish of the owners or wish of the employees or the ambitions, all those things has to be combined and communicated throughout the company. Then innovation comes. Because if the owner comes and say, look, let's try this idea, I don't think the rest of the company are going to be really wow and buy that unless they knew the background. Okay, where did this come from? Why are you suddenly talking about open source ERP today? Where did this come from? But if I had got all the 3 groups to think on the same lines and communicate as much as possible, then and when an idea comes from each one of the teams, it gets, it has a higher success chance. I think also it's know that it's very important to put stress on the team. Now, I just told you not to stress the team, but I'm now going to tell you to stress the team about your core business. Let's say you are a small business selling fruits on the street. You have a small fruit shop. If you are thinking this business is going to be the same way, going to give me this amount of profit for the rest of my life or for the rest of the next 5 years, you are too relaxed. You have to always act like your core business is dying every day. Right? So it's like, okay, today we made $100, but tomorrow making $100 is going to be very tough with this business. So we put that pressure on the core business and say, this is a ticking bomb. This is only going to get tougher and tougher and tougher. So go do other things. Okay, maybe open a grocery shop next to you, fruit shop. Okay, maybe think about selling, fruit baskets or things like that. So I come and put stress on the core business and say, look, guys, I know things are looking good today, but this is a dying business. Any core business is a dying business, and it's getting tougher and tougher every year. So better you diversify, better you do innovative things. So you mitigate your risk. And the fundamental thing is, again, getting all those 3 teams together, and then also remove the stress from the teams, and then again stress them about the core business. That usually works for me very well if I want to get innovation out of a team.
Thank you, Mr. Dulit. Like, stress the members, not stress them, give a peaceful mindset, and get the work done from the team. That's, I think, a true good quality of a leadership, by the way. So next up, we have Mr. Bhagya. I'll move on to Mr. Bhagya. innovation sometimes faces resistance from stakeholders, isn't it? So, how do you navigate potential pushbacks while pursuing innovative ideas within your organization?
Okay. So to start with, I think what Dulit as one of our biggest, inspirations, right? Who started everything, entrepreneurs and everything, added a very key thing for us, right? He said, your core business is dying, yeah, and you need to think it's dying and then innovate on top of it. So I'll start from there. So I'm been working with IT companies, right? So a lot of people might think, okay, once you join IT company, or you're not, you don't need that mindset. But when you go up the ladder, right, when you move from first year to second year, third year, right, and when you start becoming a manager or a lead, entrepreneur mindset is the most important thing. Yeah. So you need to start innovating. Yeah. So let's take a very simple example. Yeah. Just I have been managing clients for last 15, 16 years. So if you ask the long term clients, yeah, first time they will, give their core business to us and say, look, run the business. Yes, we will run it for about 2 to 3 years on the first time. Then if we go to the renewal part of it, what happens is the client asks, okay, what did you learn? What did you add value? Do you still need the team that you needed on, you know 3 years ago when you took my business to run this? Haven't you learned anything? Haven't you invented anything? Right? But now that conversation doesn't happen at that third year renewal point. That conversation of innovation now comes in from the first day, right? When you sign a deal, what are you bringing into us? And lot of people think, right, when I ask a person to automate something, or run something, they think, okay, right, if I automate this job, my job will be over. Yeah, what's going to happen? No, once you free up your time, yeah, what's going to happen is you're going to get additional time to look into other things. Yeah. So at this moment, as Durit said, he's stressed out doing his own job. Yeah. But he doesn't have time to look at the innovation part of it. But if you automate it, or you give it, a think about it, then the free time comes for you to look at the bigger picture and do something. So as team members, definitely we are where, people have that challenges. So you need to tell them, right, are you here to write 1,000, or say, let's say 250 Java codes a day? Is that your ambition for the next 20 years? No, right? Code of lines? No. You have to learn something new. You have to move through your career. So to do that, you have to, move away from what you're doing right now, hand it over to somebody, or finish it and hand it over, or automate it and move forward. So as a team member, there are challenges. Then as a client also, from the client side also, we have challenges. Yeah. Somebody might not see this. Yeah. He might think, okay, I want the core business to run in this manner. Then you need to start looking at him, understand. So if I take the example, right, I work for HCL. Let's say I'm trying to work with Dulit on a Kapruka deal. I have to think that I'm part of Dulit's team. Yeah, because then only he will definitely feel that I'm part of it, right? I'm bringing it. Yeah. I have seen lot of the time, when customers come to visit us. Yeah. Our team members start, some of them start saying, okay, my business is running your packaging plant. Yeah. So I'm running the packaging plant. So the client is like, okay, he thinks, oh my goodness, this guy is part of my team. Yeah. He's thinking in my direction. He has understood it. So we always need to look at what business value we can add, and then talk to them, say, and also the benefit should be, we are all into PNL, isn't it? Finally we are looking at the profit margins, keeping the investors happy. So we also need to take those into consideration and tell the client, look, this is the amount, this is what we can do, and these are the other things we can help you on. Yeah. So that's very, 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 very important for us to look at. And part of the other thing is, a lot of, when you look at it, the investor, right, investors mindset is return, right? What is the return for me, right? If you do this, what is the return? What if you don't do this? What is the negativity? Pros and cons, everything will be looked into. So the challenges, as I said, is it doesn't limit to one place. right? But you have to look at everybody and think about the innovating challenges, then look at the big picture and bring it together. But it's a famous term, right? The only constant is change. Yeah, you're going to change. Yeah, the two options is whether you like to go ahead of the curve and change things, or some might change you, or somebody else will change and take over you. Yeah, so if you don't change, right, change means right now I believe change is innovation. Now that is the change. Yeah, if you look at it, in a system, we were like 2007 when we were working, the biggest things were like, let's build the most sophisticated data center. Yeah, and then suddenly 2015-16 everybody came up and said, we want to go to public cloud. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, AWS or GCP or wherever you want to go, that's it. But now where are we? Now we are into hybrid cloud. Yeah, because data protection and everything has come into picture and people have understood the pros and cons. So innovating yourself, right, you also need to market yourself as a person. Once you go up the ladder, once you start communicating with people, innovation is very important, right? So as an individual, you need to innovate yourself. As a team member, you need to innovate yourself. As a client, you need to bring innovation. And as an investor, to see that return coming to you, you have to be innovative as well. So the challenge is all across, but if we work together, see the big picture, and show them that you're part of it, then the challenge becomes very easier to manage.
Wonderful insights, Mr. Bhagyan. So thinking out of the curve and being an innovative person would definitely leads to a good innovation. I think so. That was a wonderful answer from your end. Thank you, Mr. Bhagyan, for that. So I think Miss Nirosha is here with us now. Let me check. Okay. Yeah. Dr. Nirosha is having some technical issues, so let's move ahead. Staying innovative and resilient while maintaining a work-life balance is crucial for entrepreneurships. Mr. Dulit, how do you strike this balance and ensure your well-being while pursuing your business goals?
There is no one size fits all answer to that, because what makes me happy at the end of the day may not be what another entrepreneur is looking for, right? So I think for me, it's very important that I have a close circle of friends and family who understand my characteristics and who does not really force me to entertain myself or do a work-life balance based on a book or based on their experiences. So I kind of want everybody to leave me alone, and that helps me to find my own happiness in what I do. So for me as an entrepreneur, what really excites me at the end of the day is getting stuff done. Right? If I go home and if I had to write 35 lines on my notebooks, I mean, I think that's the biggest reward. I'll tell you some things that I've done wrong, which I'm trying to improve. One for sure is my poor sleeping habits. I think a lot of entrepreneurs will have that problem. Yeah, so the reason I think maybe I started Java Launch also a bad idea to complement the sleep problem. But I'm really working hard on actually getting 7 hours of sleep now. I've been a 4-hour sleeper from since my A-level times. So I've been packing it too much. Now it's time that I unpack and fix that problem. And also I keep aside about 1.5 to 2 hours every day to learn something that is bitterly new to you. Like I'll tell you, yesterday I was reading and trying to learn about organic carrot farming. Okay, there's nothing to do with what I'm doing, and it's very hard to learn. Even go through a half an hour video on that topic. But I force myself to do it because it really, I think, keep your. I'm a much older guy than all of you guys here, right? So I have to make sure I manage my brain so it will be plastic enough to learn new stuff. So from quantum physics to from organic carrot farming to that whole spectrum, I try to spend at least an hour and a half. Brand new stuff, not the stuff that you would really like to read, but like brand new stuff I personally do. But again, the simple answer to your question is, look, if you are happy, it's a done deal, right? It's not about somebody coming and telling you, are you drink sports like, yes, if you don't need it, nobody else can come and really impose it on you. If you're happy, it's done deal. So that's the short answer.
So your happiness is what matters. So in whatever the things that you're doing. So thank you, Mr. Dulit, for sharing your experience. Now let's shift our focus to networking and collaboration. Mr. Dulit, once again, back to you. Now, as we all know, the networking has improved. So how has networking played a role in your entrepreneurial journey, and how has it helped you overcome challenges and seize opportunities?
Yeah, it's okay. In different stages of your career and in your journey as an entrepreneur or a businessman, networking plays different roles. So when I was very small and when I didn't know anybody, I think I gave a very high priority to get to know people and spend more time with them and kind of build that network. But as you progress in life, there comes to a point where I mean, I think if you're like a person who has established a brand, etc., there comes to a point where you only need about 10 or 20 people, and through them you can reach anybody in the country. It's a small country, right, Sri Lanka? So pretty much you can talk to anybody by sometimes even just picking up the phone and talking to them and saying who you are and trying to get through. But it took a long time to build it. So I'm saying as you go along, you need to decrease the importance in you trying to network too much. Because I remember I have had times where I have wasted so much of time just because I gave 10 business cards, you get almost 10 calls back after an event, and one guy is trying to sell you something, and you are, because of the networking effect, you end up spending 2-3 hours going and meeting somebody, things like that. So you have to really pick it on what you want to do. And also now it's so much more easier. If I do get 10 calls back, for 3 I will give Zoom invites. I will give 15-minute meetings on Zoom. Earlier it had to be a coffee shop, it had to be like you had to let them in, or you had to go, all that. So you can actually speed up the whole networking thing. Again, you need to ramp it up, and at one point you can just forget about it. You can pretty much reach anybody who you want, and you can stay away from networking.
Okay. Yeah. So as you said, like with the advancement of the technology, everything has become easier and faster. So I would like to know the opinion from Mr. Botejo also about regarding this networking, and how has this played a bigger role in this journey in your end?
Yeah. So from our side, right, as you work in an industry like IT, right, we are working for clients. Okay. So today I might be working with one client, and tomorrow I might be working with somebody else. So it's very important for you to understand who's in the other side. Yeah. So if I say I had a client, who was very interested in golf. All right. But I had nothing in common, right? When you come to a casual conversation or anything, right? I had nothing common in golf. I didn't know anything, right? So just to let you know, networking is, as I said, it can help you, as Dulit mentioned, the people, that's it. But for us who are in a business, who are working with clients, like, they know the brand HCL. That's not a problem, right? They know that. But now to run that ground level business with him, right, day-to-day business with him, I need to know him. I need to know his team, and work through it. So lot of our time, what we find is, if I don't build a relationship, things are almost over. Yeah. So that means, like, when escalation happens, you don't know what to do. or when something happens, you don't know. If you don't know the person, face to face or anything, it's also sometimes very difficult to convince the person. But one or two meetings. So I'll give you example. I had one person when I was working in UK. The only time I got to know, right, throughout the day I tried in my first month, second month, to connect with him. No, I couldn't. Then I figured out that he has a 15 to 20 minutes driving window, right, when he drops his kid to school and coming to office, right. He said, okay, Bhagya, let's connect. Yeah. Then I went ahead and connected, and then he expected me to speak the 20 minutes. Yeah. Now because I'm part of that conversation, but my conversations and everything are very different, right. So what I had to do was I had to learn his interest, right. I had to do a little bit of work and move ahead. So when you work for an organization, networking is very different. Yeah, you have to go ahead and do certain things that you might not be comfortable also, to keep the relationship going on. Yeah. And that takes the next what is in his mind, right. No, that's very important, right. We, as a program manager or a business lead, I'm dealing with the guy who takes the decision on the other side. Yeah. So I need to figure out time to somehow get into his head, what's his plan for next couple of years, and to understand it. So networking adds a lot of things. And we also try, when we have junior people in offshore centers, right. And if you're in Sri Lanka, we try to get the person and give an understanding. So over the phone, he's the guy who gets escalated most, right. But you once to bring the client here or the manager here and put them both together, they are the best of friends and it works away. So networking helps to solve some of the problems as well. Yeah. And right now, I would say, as a person who's we have about close to 1700 people at HCL, right. What I'm seeing is a lot of people in Sri Lanka, young generation, doesn't understand the importance of networking. Yeah. Very few people will switch on a camera to have a discussion. Once you start putting a face in, it changes a lot. Yeah. So I think the generation like us, Dulit, bit senior to us, right, we have come to a level where we understood networking, and we now use it wisely. But the new generation also very much needs to understand it's very important to build a relationship, see a person face to face, sit for a tea or a coffee, all that, right. And then, but then after that, once you start understanding reading people, as Dulit mentioned, it's far easier, right. You know the context, what to do, where to go, and you know what he wants and what I can give. Yeah. And you know the limits and everything as well. So networking is very important for people if you're working in an organization, and if you're trying to go ahead with the corporate ladder, right. You are the person, you are the face and everything, you have to maintain it. But at the same time, if you're a young generation, I would say we really need to improve how we network ourselves. Yeah. Because a lot of the people come with the mindset, okay, I can alone go the line. Yeah. No, it's not the way, right. You don't communicate. I'll tell you a simple example, right. How networking has fallen off. Yeah. So when this economic crisis was going on, I one of the account managers who called me and said, Bhagya, I have a very tough time to bring 3 guys because I need them in office. All right. I said, fantastic. Yeah, I'll help you. Then I asked one of my team members to talk to them and said, they all have problems traveling. Yeah. To office, they are saying, I don't have this, I don't have that, some. But I just had one call, and my first question was, where do you guys live? Yeah. So most of them live around Maharagama. Yeah. One guy has a car, right. We just need to make sure that we connect and understand ourselves. I gave a very small example, right. But you should see, imagine a person, right, because you don't network out as a young person, right. I have to get involved to that level to figure out that we all live together. I would say previously, before COVID and all that, everybody knew where another person lives, understood how we can help each other, all that. So networking is all about, from my side, is something that is very important. as people who work in the industry, we see it as one of the fundamental things. When we bring a person even in from another country, you know, we sell our hospitality, right? You know, that's what people love about Sri Lanka,
Recording stopped.
right? So we continue to progress on those. So as I said, as Dulit said, you need to have a limit as well. You know where you need to know where to stop, right? You know, so some of the times, you know, you're wasting a lot of your time, but you know, it's one of the things that drives you, gives you the extra edge sometimes, and the benefit. And you know, some conversations with good networking lead to the most important things that you can reach and get. Yeah, that's very important from our side.
Yeah, so that shows us like in the industrial sector, so networking is a fundamental fact to understand the client, customers, and whoever we are working with. So thank you, Mr. Bhagya, for the answer. So I think Dr. Hirosha is with us now. I think
me.
yeah.
I'm sorry, my video is not working. Initially, it was work and it was not working. Now I'm extremely sorry, Bhagya. It's not switch, not it's the technical failure. Sorry about that.
That's totally fine, ma'am.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
Yeah.
So you can like keep your video switched off. So that's fine. And if you are okay with the issues, you can turn on your video and
yeah.
So my next question is to you, ma'am. So have you ever engaged in cross-industry collaborations? And how can diversification impact a business positively?
Yeah. So when we concern about the cross-industry collaboration, I think so when we are collaborating with the different industry, will lead to a good innovative solutions. For example, like if we are in two different industries or working with the two different field of expertise, there may be some good innovative, like the two people in the two different areas will have a communicate with each other and discuss with some sort of a new things, maybe generating a very new and very different experience, as well as they can think about very good innovative solutions, because you know that when you take my expertism and maybe the Dulit expertism and the Bhagya, we are maybe in different industries. And for example, like Bhagya and Dulit said, so networking is an important factor. Like if we are collaboratively and working in cross industries, it may be when we thinking about new things. So I think the different expertism will together and lead to a new innovative solutions. Uh, for example, like I just give a small example uh, about my husband. He's an entrepreneur. So I have the experience. I have seen. I'm academic, but I have seen he's an entrepreneur, and he's initially a software engineer. So he's did his degree, and then after when we were done our masters in Chancellor University, so we had a one subject called e-commerce somewhere around 2006. For myself and both my husband and myself both done this e-commerce subject, but he's a little bit innovative thinker, and he think about okay, so I'm a software engineer, so how can we done the different things? So he's having a good networking with the people. So then he talked to different people. For example, like he thought like, okay, so we are a country, so we can do some exports. And also he found that the different platforms that they can sell some of the goods. So he's initially a software engineer, but he has seen that platform that he can sell some items from Sri Lanka, and he was started cinnamon. So he selected as a cinnamon. So I asked why you have select cinnamon. So he said like cinnamon is unique to Sri Lanka. So the other cinnamon types are not, the original cinnamon is from Sri Lanka. So then he started his career and he success in his journey. But I think there are a lot of things that we have to consider, because when discuss with the two different industries, but anyway, with there were some hard times, but he already communicate and network with the many people to different areas, but he had come up with a very innovative ideas, and I have seen many his journey when I'm seen his the journey. Now actually he has sell many items, like, so after the cinnamon, so he has go with the some tea, and sometimes he sends some mayuka and others fish, like that. So a lot of things. So but he used some e-commerce platform to buying and selling. The important thing is like as an entrepreneur, so he had a good network, and what Bahagya and Duli said is exactly correct. So he kept that and well established. So then I think basically, so if we go as an entrepreneur, the cross-industry collaboration can lead to good innovative solution in for now we know that we have a economic crisis. So the young generation also can think about in a different way, as Bhagya said, when we concern about the networking also. So most of the people earlier, actually when we meet somebody, so we like to talk to each other, but now most of the people are in the social media friends are there, but they don't like to face, they don't like to talk to each other. So that problem is there, I think, with the pandemic and the social media. Those things happen, but I think uh, but that is also important to improve. And anyway, the cross industry collaborations definitely lead to innovative I develop some innovative ideas, solutions for different problems. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Nirosha, so for that wonderful answer. So next, I would like to forward my question to Mr. Bhagya. Trust is essential in collaboration. So you actually mentioned about how fundamental the networking is in the industrial sector. So how do you establish and maintain trust when collaborating with new partners or your team members?
Well, I think the word would be more than trust, it's the integrity. Yeah. So how we maintain integrity with everyone. That's what you have to do. So how do we make it right? If we start a business, or if we are start delivering, or if I come to the core levels of a normal IT deal, you sign a small SOW. Yeah. When I say small means, it depends on what you're taking on, but that SOW is what that drives the business forward. Yeah. Statement of work, right? That we are using. So once we start working, number one is very easily you have to walk the talk. Yeah. So when you would have gone and sold sell something to the client, and once you start delivering, you have to make sure whatever we talked is delivered. Yeah. That's a very big trust point. Yeah. And when there is a issue, right, and when there is a failure, right, it's bound to happen, right? that's why in the industry we have issues. So we call them as priority incidents or anything which impacts the business. During that time, you have to be very transparent about it. Yeah, you have to communicate back to the person and say, look, if it's a human error or something, you put your hand up and say, look, we had a mistake. Yeah, we are still learning. Yeah, what's our, that's why, root cause analysis and everything is there, right? Finally figure out what's going on, and that's also very much important. And then, uh, the other thing, as I mentioned earlier, also, you have to make yourself feel part of the business. Yeah. So you are always not looking at your interest only. Yeah. No. Now, if I talk about myself, I have to look at the margin. How we deliver the project. At the end of the day, do I meet it? But at the same time, am I meeting the margin of? Am I meeting the expectations of my client? Yeah. Or am I recommending something for him to go to the next step, right? And if I can push him through, right, if his agenda or his goals also, if I can achieve his goals also, then that trust builds a lot. Yeah. So it's not only looking at myself, at achieving that SOW, I walk away. No, I go ahead and understand what he needs and what's his future plan, what's his vision, his mission. All these things, give you the trusting part that is happening, right? And also, one of the other thing is that trust, yeah, is also what carries you as reputation. Yeah. And what gives you reputation. Yeah. And it impacts networking as well. Yeah, that client, if you are very honest, if you're delivering well, you're walking the talk, if he has a network, again, he will let you expand as well. Yeah, he'll tell his friend and other business, saying, okay, these guys are doing this, they are bringing the innovation in. So that, to that level, we have to build our trust. Yeah. So being, maintaining integrity continuously, then walking the talk. Yeah. That's very, very, very important, right? If you're delivering something, you deliver it, and then you understand his goals, and then try to give him, get it achieved through him. And then also making you feel part of the business. You give him the confidence, like, I'm part of you, right? You have signed a service deal with me, but I'm here to support you. It's very difficult to do that. Yeah. People will see always that it can, but once the trust is there, it's there. And then communicate honestly. I think that's where a lot of the trust is lost. In most of the time, when an issue comes in, people just say, okay, this is this and all that. But if you're technically sound, right, I would say you can find the problem, and one day he's going to figure out that I came ahead and gave something very incorrect about that aspiration. Yeah. Because lot of the people in our country and all that might not understand the business impact, right? Some of the, if a server goes down, you're talking about, for a, if a website is not available, you're talking about $1 million or a $1 million, $2 million business gone. Yeah. So at that moment, if we don't give him an answer to that, saying, okay, look, this is the issue, next time it will not happen, we have the learnings, we have moved forward, then that trust comes in. And if you are not continuously learning also, right, if the same mistake is occurring, you're not delivering, then that trust is also gone. Yeah. And plus, if you're just flat also, right, that's where our conversation is like, if you're not innovating to him also, he might lose the trust, right? He will see whether his competitors, right, are getting an edge from his partners rather than, he's not getting it from us. So building trust is very important, and maintaining is very important, and it will be the success point throughout, and which will lead you to go ahead and move forward. Yeah. So that's about trust from from a services company point of view, and when you're working in the industry.
Thank you, Mr. Dalit. So what I understood is communication is everywhere, either to build trust or do whatever it is. Communication and understanding, having heart-to-heart conversation with your employees or with your clients, I think that's the most important thing. So thank you for your answer. Next, I would move on to Mr. Dulit. How do you balance online networking with face-to-face interactions? And what strategies do you use to build meaningful relationships in both rings?
Online versus offline meetings. again, Bhagya, thanks for bringing that different perspective, to your previous question about networking. Again, it's very, very industry specific, right? So entrepreneur would look at it in a different way, the sales team will look at it in a different way. So it's again, one answer does not fit all. So coming to your question, virtual versus physical, one thing that I'm very stingy about is, more than any material thing or anything, is time. Because the 2 hours that I'm giving you today, I can never get it back, right? If I miss to make $1,000 in that 2 hours, yes, I can work hard and make $1,000 tomorrow, but I cannot get these 2 hours back. So if anything, if there's a possibility of doing something remotely, I always try to opt for it, even though the physical one would have been 10% better. I will give up that 10% in return of the time. Imagine this panel today. Do you think it'll be half a day for all of our time if we are to go to some hotel and do this? I'll have to come there half an hour early, comfort you guys and make sure that all the panelists are there, and at the end there will be cocktails or whatever the wrap up. So you take is half a day gone, but now we can do this in 2 hours. So I always pick online as much as possible, but then there are these incidents or there are these people that you really will work better when you are physically there. There are people in office today. If I am not calling him, I'm like, let's meet up in the conference room. He has to come up, even though he's on the second floor, because I know I vibe so much better when this guy's in front of me. So, if it is a 2-minute thing, 5-minute thing, yes, press the elevator button, come up to the floor and let's meet up. Then again, there are guys who, again, try better on certain setups, right? So like yesterday I met one of our directors. I can only brainstorm with him if we are having a beer together. So we both vibe so much better if you are, somewhere relaxed. So again, it's very, very subjective, but my way is I'm trying to cut it out as much as possible and stay online.
Yeah.
Yumi, can I just add one thing to that?
Sure.
As well? Yeah. So I think one of the other things very important that Dulit mentioned, I also completely avoid agendaless meetings. Yeah. I completely, I reject those invites and send it back and say, put an agenda and come back. Yeah. And that is, you, when you're online, right, you have to, your time is the most valuable thing, as Dilip mentioned. Yeah. If we were at a organization sitting together, you can speak to 100 people and they will hear you, they'll see you, they'll see whether you're gone. But in a meeting online, if both of us are not switching on a camera, we can't do that. Yeah. The voice tones and everything will bring it on, right? So as Dilip mentioned, time plus agenda. Yeah. That is also one big thing I would say, that in a meeting that I will ask. And most of the time, midway through a conversation, I will always ask, what's the objective now, right? Are we reaching for the objective, right? Because the call goes on, somebody gives an idea, but we are not here, right? We don't have time. So I think agenda is also something, I think Durit will also agree, right? That is very, very important when you're meeting online. Yeah.
Yeah, with the busy schedules, I think the time management is very important. And so, yeah. So I would agree with that, Mr. Dulit and Mr. Boteja. So thank you for your insightful answers. Next, I would like to move on to Dr. Nirosha. Are there any platforms that deliver undergraduates the chance to link with entrepreneurial entities? Any of the platforms that undergraduates can actually get a chance or get the opportunities to link with the entrepreneurial entities?
Yes. When I'm considering about the academic point of view, connect with that platform. When it's come to the Sri Lanka, so there are in the many all the institutes are concerned about these entrepreneurships and make some collaborations with the different people. So, and also when it's come to the IT, So ICTA. So I think you have already know about the main governing body of the ICT. So they are having a good platform open up for the undergraduates to have some entrepreneurships, and also there are some in the university level also. When you go with the faculty, so they have already developed and discussed and maintaining many platforms, and also they are having some sort of collaborations with the people who come with the successful stories, and sort of platforms are there for undergraduate students to collaborate and work together with this one.
Thank you, Dr. Nirosha. Now let's move on to the theme of persistence and survival. My first question goes to Mr. Bhagyan. Data security and privacy are crucial concerns. What best practices should entrepreneurs implement to safeguard their data and protect their customers?
Well, I think the most important thing that I think I also have heard from a lot of trainings and everywhere, and when I practice also and when I see is what data you really need to run your business if you're an entrepreneur. Yeah. So if you can limit yourself for the minimum amount of data and run your business, that's the best thing. Yeah. So I think Dulit will explain the question better, right? Moment he takes a credit card information or anything from us, if a payment gateway, if he puts it through payment gateways, it's all good, right? But if he saves it somewhere, right, on a database or anything, which is now not happening, right, most of the time, right, you're bound to protect it. Yeah. And you don't need other information, right? What is very important is, biggest way to secure yourself is gather minimum data, right, to run your business if it's very secure stuff. Yeah. Health, right? You go ahead, right? That is very, very, now in Sri Lanka we might not even think about it, right? But in UK, US, when we are working with life sciences, when we're working with health sector, we signed so many NDAs, right? We signed so many data protection exams we go through. Yeah. And we have to sit all through these things. So what you say is always, gather the minimal amount of data. And if you know that your data is, always that very important, please make sure that you secure it properly as well. Yeah. You need to know what platforms, what, cybersecurity new mechanisms and everything, right? You have to, look at all these options. Yeah. You just can't run a business and, collect data, keep it, and, you can't send it to everybody, right? All of us have that exam. All of us have this, sometimes in your email, you figure out that there are things coming to it from somewhere. Okay. Right. Right. If you go and write it somewhere, yes, then I will think, okay, because I wrote it somewhere in this exhibition, in this book, it's coming to you. No, some people will sell your data, right? Some people might, sell your email addresses and everything as well. So very important you to understand with whom you're sharing the data, and then what data you're sharing. And a lot of us, this one thing, right? That disclaimers that come in, we scroll down, tongue, agree, right? That's what we do, right? We don't even take 2 minutes to sometimes understand what's in it. Yeah. I'm not saying to read every disclaimer or everything, right? You know that, but we are not actually putting our head into it and thinking, is my data going to be right? And office email addresses, right? Where you put it. Yeah. Now I will write my Gmail address anywhere, but one I have, I just use two, right? One I just give it to everyone, right? I don't mind, there's no secure data in my that, right? And then, a lot of people need to understand how we go ahead. Yeah. And the other thing is, who has access to data, right? That's also very important, right? If you're running a business and all that, you know does everybody, right, does the security guard of your company needs to have access to the database which you are holding client information? No, right?
Recording in progress.
You need to understand, how do you, with whom you keep the access, right? Very important to, while you gather the information, you move ahead. Yeah. And the other thing is like, we are now in a digital world, right? And intellectual property has become very important. Yeah. So what you're using at this moment is very important, right? So these days, just to add, right, I'll take one more minute, right? Now, there is a Hollywood strike going on. If people know about it, at Hollywood, there is a strike going on. So if you read about the Hollywood strike, you will see on top it will say, pay and all that. But actually, there's an AI part to it. Okay. So what they are doing right now is they're saying, okay, I will take a digital scan of you, right? Let's say I take a digital scan, I'll own it. Yeah. So, but I'm going to pay you for one day. Yeah. That day you are coming to give me the digital scan only, I'm going to pay for it. And then I will use it the way I want. All right. So imagine, right, in a business, in this world, how things have changed. Yeah. Mission Impossible, right? A movie like that we watch because of Tom Cruise. Yeah. And he's now 60 plus. Yeah. How many more stunts he can do, right? Go ahead. But the company, right, but the motion pictures and everybody, what they are doing is they understand this, right? But to keep that brand up and running, we might, when Tom Cruise is 80, even we might have to run a movie, right, to keep that up. So they are focusing that AI stuff and all that. So what you need is data is very important, right? We think, if somebody takes a digital scan of us, we'll say happily, yeah, nobody has done it, good, take it, right? But the ways it can be used is very important. So we need to understand what data can do to you as well. Yeah. And how it can be used in the future against you or against you. And then, one of the other things is secure methods. Yeah. People need to really look at secure methods to, store the data and move forward. Yeah. So I would say, if you understand what data you need, who has access, how to store it, and what are the repercussions of having that data outside, yeah, then your data is secure, right? If you don't understand all these elements, some data might not be like, all three elements or four elements I mentioned might not be important, but some data, it's okay, but for others, right, imagine somewhere like Hollywood is worried about this, yeah, taking a digital scan, right? Then we also should be looking at what else we have shared with the world that can be used against us, right? There are plenty of movies, right? If you really see, erase yourself out, you're digitally, your footprint is gone. So that's because, if we don't protect our data, that that is a realistic picture that can happen to you, not the way the movies show it, but in any other way. Yeah. Just to cover it up.
Excellent advice, Mr. Bhagya. So, anyways, we all have the responsibility to protect, like to have privacy in whatever the things, like if either it's data, or we do need to have privacy in our real life, or when it comes to industry, when it comes to entrepreneurs. So whatever it is, we need to have the privacy, and we need to be responsible for our own selves. So yeah, Mr. Dulit, maintaining a competitive edge is vital for survival. How do you continuously innovate to ensure the growth and survival of your business in a rapidly changing market landscape?
So how do we handle competition in a broad perspective? You should never discount the value of competition. If there is no competition, half of the stuff will be not around. Right? It gives you so much value to your business. You need to treasure it, and you need to really look at it in a positive way. I think, why do we go to PETA? And why do you pay so much money to have a 30 by 30 small shop in PETA, where whatever you're selling is sold on that whole street, right? Because that whole street has, let's say, saris, it's clustered. It's all because of competition. More customers come in, right? So first thing is, we don't discount the value of competition. We take it in a very healthy way. And having said that, there's a famous saying that, keep your ears on the road so you can, hear the competition, but keep your eyes on the customer. So you can hear the vibrations of the competitor on the street because you are keeping your ear on the street. But your eyes are not on your competition. Your eyes are on your customer, right? And if you focus that way, I think that's the right discipline. So you're not ignoring competition, but you're also not giving a lot of priority to it, because that can really distract and send you on a wrong track. And especially like a company like Kapruka, where we really take pride in innovation and we feel like we are on top of the game, and we feel like there's no need to copy anybody because innovation is so high in here. It's even easier for us to keep the ear on the road and just look at the customer and do more and more new things. And I know I have seen so many entrepreneurs. They're not entrepreneurs yet, but they have good ideas and they have the rest of the entrepreneur gene. But sometimes they don't even start thinking, "Oh, somebody will copy my idea." Right? They don't even sometimes want to discuss the project because they are worried about somebody copying it. So it's really, you need to discount it that way, but also you have to value the competition as well. So it's kind of, I know it's a mixed answer, but I think you guys get it. You're on mute, Emily. We can't hear you.
I'm sorry. So thank you, Mr. Dilith, for that answer. So in the current economic crisis, what steps do you recommend the fresh industrialists to take when starting up a business? And what avenues should they consider? Mr. Dilith, I would like to forward this question to you.
So in Sri Lanka these days, I think this is a great time to start anything. I mean, you can pretty much, because there are a lot of wipeouts that happened during the COVID time and then during the economic crisis, a lot of weak businesses did not survive. So it has opened up quite a bit of space now to, in those areas for, it's not only e-commerce, like sector-wide, it can be IT services, it can be automotive, it can be leisure, all that. There's a lot of room for growth now. But one of the lowest hanging fruits for entrepreneurs, for young entrepreneurs like you, is in the digital field. Okay. And it can be on e-commerce or it can be e-something. Right? I mean, even these days, if you are a guy having a shop in the Polar, without your WhatsApp, you're not going to get the neighborhood orders now, right? Because you WhatsApp the guy what you want, he keeps it ready. So it's kind of digital again. So I can give you multiple examples of small startups that we are doing at Kapruka, which are very, very simple. I'll give you one. So there's something called Double Bubble that we started. It's nothing else but 2 guys show up at your house and wash your cup for 500 rupees. Okay. It's simple. There is no website. There is no fancy app. None of that. It's a WhatsApp number, right? You get the request. We schedule it into a simple calendar and we send 2 guys and you wash your car for $500. Especially we are targeting apartments. Right? So this is nothing to do with e-commerce, but there's something pet project we did here, and it's really thriving up. So brand new idea. You're asking about what are the new ideas that people can do, right? So we started something called Gruhanis recently. It's a cloud kitchen where we cluster people who are good at cooking meals. We tell them, okay, you are very good at cooking for your house. You are cooking for 6 people anyway. Can you make another 10? We'll come pick it up and we'll sell it on our cloud kitchen under your brand. Let's say you are Miss Anuradha. And so on the Uber, if you go to the Gruhanis restaurant on Uber, you're not going to see chicken, fish, etc. You're going to see Anuradha, you're going to see Priyanti, you're going to see. So we've broken the menu into the Gruhanis name and made it her brand. So this is again, it's a 4 people company. Right? And there's something else we wanted to check out. There's, when you are buying a used car today, every car has something called a VIN number, which is a serial number for that car. It's unique. But we want to try to sell your history of your car. So if I'm buying a used car, you might be able to come to this website and then type in this VIN number, and we will tell the public records that we have of it for a fee, right? For $1,000 or 10,000, 5,000 or whatever. We will say, we know 20 things about this car. It can be simple oil changes and some police reports, right? But when you're buying, a couple of million rupee transaction, you don't mind paying 1,000 rupees to know everything possible about it, right? So I can go on all day about ideas like this that we do, and there's stuff that we don't have the time and the bandwidth to do, but there's plenty of things to do here in the current market in Sri Lanka.
So if anyone is having some innovative ideas, whether it's small or big, we can start up if we have the confidence. So yeah. So thank you, Mr. Dalit, for that answer. Next up, I would like to forward my question to Mr. Bhagya. Many startups have early stage struggles. What advice would you give aspiring entrepreneurs to maintain their persistence and motivate during these initial stages of their ventures?
I think I'll start saying, the word that Dulit uses, you first pick the low hanging fruits. Yeah. When you start something, right, let's say, I'll bring it to, from entrepreneur to a industry, like, mine, right? When you start something new, first you need to get some things done. Okay. Quickly, some of the things done to, give a pat on the back by yourself, even saying, okay, Bhagya, I've done this. Yeah. Right. A lot of the people, that has to happen is that, have a small goal, right? Try and achieve it very quickly. And then little by little, you add on to it. Yeah. If you're looking at a bigger goal from day one onwards, right? It's good to have your vision, mission, and everything. You're going towards something, but first, this is an achievement, right? I think I can't remember who said that. I think somewhere there was a statement made, right? If you want to achieve something on a day, first you start by making your bed. Yeah. Then once you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, one task is done for you, right? One task is done. And then you know what is the other advantage of completing that and all that? At the end of the day, when you come back, right, you have a made up bed to sleep, right? You don't need to put effort and everything, right? So what you need to do is first have small goals and targets, achieve them, feel comfortable that you're going towards it, right? And then you and also you need to review and measure yourself. Yeah, that's what we do, right? In a deal or anything, when we're doing, are we going in the track? Is this what we set to achieve, right? Is the path that we set to achieve, right? If you're working with an investor, you go back and ask him, look, I'm going in this path. Sometimes the money might be coming, but the goal and everything might have completely shifted to somewhere else, right? That is very important. Yeah. And also you have to be honest to yourself. Yeah. And numbers don't lie. I think Dulit will agree, right? Always if the numbers are low and you keep on striving and all that, but if it continues to pop up and say it's low, right? You can't do this, then you have to really look at yourself and think, yeah, did I take the right decisions? What do I need to do? Do I need to revamp myself? Numbers never lie to you, right? Focus on those numbers and move forward. Yeah. And how much you can learn from your mistakes, right? Initially we are all bound to make mistakes. How much we learn, yeah, and build our success upon that as well. That is also very important. Yeah. And then the other thing is, a lot of startups, even my friends are have the right people. Yeah. Not your friends. Yeah. Because he's a you see a guy comes in, he's the finance guy, but he doesn't have anything on finance. Yeah. I'm not saying it can't be learned on or anything like that, right? So it's very, very important for you to understand, right? How you go ahead. Yeah. One of the most things what I do these days is, like, I listen to a lot of people to say, these 1 minute videos you have seen, right? My wife loves it. She loves to watch the dancing parts and everything, but I'm more interested about the learning bits. Yeah. So I really one thing I learned about picking the right people, right? If Apple name comes out to mind, everybody thinks it's Steve Jobs who did the job, isn't it? Right? But if you really look at it, 19 and recruits Tim Cook, okay, who's the current CEO, right? And if you see, by that time, Apple was in huge trouble. He comes in as the global, operations vice president. All right. And then he completely, within 7 months, if you read it, right, there are good articles. I also only heard it in a small place, right? So right people at the right time gives you wings as well, right? So initially when you're there, please pick your right people, not your friend or anybody. If he's an investor, I would say, I've seen a lot of my friends do it. You're an investor, but I'm hiring the right people into this conversation, right? And I will give you that amount, but you play that role. Yeah, you have to be upfront about it, right? So these are the main things. Yeah, you quickly realize, right? If to summarize, quickly realize that you are in the right path. You see small targets being achieved, right? You're going in the right path. Milestones are there. If my milestones are being achieved, and then you're measuring yourself correctly, reviewing yourself very quickly. Then have you gone ahead, have you looked, being honest to yourself, right? Numbers, do you understand that both the things are together? You learn from your mistakes, hire the right people, have the right people behind you, not your friends or anything who is the investor. And the other last thing I would say is, if you need any help, you seek for it. Yeah, you don't need to be worried about it as well. Everything, right? As Durit mentioned, right? He said 20 people. If I know, those people for a reason, right? I would say you will always, if there is a problem or something that needs to be, we are not selling drugs, right, on the open market. Right? We are trying to get a business and run it, right? So, and when somebody is there to help you, take that help as well. Yeah, and those are the basic things I see from my perspective, and how I see my friends run entrepreneurship businesses. Yeah.
Thank you for that elaborative answer. Uh, Next, I would forward my last question to Dr. Nirosha. Financial constraints can be a major hurdle to startups. In your experience, how can someone keep the business afloat during these tough times? And what financial survival tips would you share with the ones facing these challenges?
Actually, Dulit and the Bhagya have already given a good answers for these questions. Yes, of course, there may be some financial constraints for in the some of the startups, but it depends on the way you are starting it. And I think the way you are thinking and your willpower, and also if you are thinking to go for a target, sometimes I think financial constraint in the you're feeling that like that you have a financial constraint, but you're in my experience, what I can say is like when you're there are many solutions, like the way you are thinking about a problem is the important way, the way you are look at about it. So you don't want to worry and thinking like so we have a financial issues fine like that. So you have to not keep on that over and over. There are many solutions available. Like for example, like you know that they are in Sri Lanka. When you take a Sri Lanka, so we have an economic problem in the country, but we are what we are doing is like we are not saying. So there are some people like so asking some funding and all this stuff, but there are some innovative ideas and come and collect and connect with some financial entities and do some proper management sort of a thing. So like that. So if you fed up or if you are facing some financial constraints, in my experience, what I can say is you have to keep on finding some the ways that you can overcome this one. Rather keep on thinking and worry about that, like keep worry and worrying. So it will you won't be able to come out of that. For example, like so maybe there may be different options, like so if you maybe sometimes in my experience, like so if you fail with one you have many options. So assume that you are failed with the first option, so making you are asking some money from a bank kind of a thing. So then maybe the first bank will be not allow you to give because of your startup. But there may be some other entities, like maybe it's not in the local level. Maybe if you are finding So you can search it. There may be some other entities like global entities are there to help you to come up with some startup. For example, like when you take the UN, so there are many options and society, and also there are some societies help for to startup people to improve their financial constraints, sort of things. So therefore, my experience is, so you have to have a kind of a so you have to have a good target, and also you should not worry about if you are facing some sort of a financial hurdle. And in my experience, so I think like if someone maybe have a different experience, but if you start some startup, so in the initial stage, maybe you have some lot of failures. Maybe from the failures, you can learn lot of things. So then you are come up with some new ideas and new way of doing things. If you are failing with the first financial difficulty, so you can go with another option. So if that is fail, so you can go with another option. So because I mean, like, there is not every question or every problem you will have an answer, right? So then the important thing is you should not worry about that, right? So like if you face sort of issues, I think you have to have a good courage and willpower to go to your target. So that is the important thing I think I can share with you.
Thank you, Dr. Nirosha, for that answer. So with that, we've covered 3 insightful topics tonight. And it has been a pleasure hearing from our esteemed panelists. Now, let's open the floor to our audience for Q&A session. Please feel free to ask any questions related to entrepreneurship, innovation, other sides that you want to know from our panelists. So yeah, the platform is yours. Audience, you can ask questions.
Excuse me. So, shall I ask a question? From Mr. Duri.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So it's so the question I wanted to ask was, so most of the time when you start a business, you get different challenges, and what is like the most the challenge that you remember the most that you'd like to share with us? It's like the personal question.
Okay, I think the biggest challenge was I remember we trying to hit a 10 million rupee sales goal a month long ago. Crossing that barrier was very tough. But once you actually meet that first 10 million, making the next 20 million was much more easier. If I look at most of the hard work, the long hours, and a lot of new things were tried out was at that point. So I would say setting up, like, okay, you are trying to go to Mount Everest, but you have to first get to base camp, and you mark base camp, and if you try to, every business will have that base camp milepost, right? I think crossing that is the toughest part for any entrepreneur. After that is generally easy. And guys, just in case, I think I do have a hard stop at 8, and I am on Twitter. I think that's the best way. If anybody has a question, if you run out of time today, wants to reach out, please reach out to me on Twitter.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions, guys?
Question is, how can modern technologies be applied to a business?
I didn't catch that. Could you say that again?
How can modern technologies how can we use modern technologies to business?
I think it's not a choice anymore, right? I mean, as I told you, I think earlier, if you are shopping the Polar today, if you are not using technology, if you don't have a simple POS system, one that you can buy for 50,000 rupees versus the guy next door who is just still using the CR book, you have an edge, right? So as I said, if you have a younger son of yours working in that shop, but he's the guy who's using WhatsApp sales for your grocery shopping the Polar, you have an edge over the guy next door. So when you say modern technology, you don't have to think about top of the range, GPS based or like very high tech stuff. You can be extremely simple and still use technology, and it's not a choice anymore. So there's no one answer fits all for this. But generally, I think everybody should adopt it as much as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Dilip. Any other?
Can I add something to
Yeah,
what
sure.
Dulit said? Yes. So exactly correct what Dulit said. Like for example, like it is there is no more choice. Like so, if you are think about a business, so anyway, the technology is already embedded with that. Without technology, you won't be able to survive. So whatever your business strategies and the IT strategies already aligned, it should be aligned. Otherwise, you won't be able to sustain. That is.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope Kumudu got a good answer for that. So any other questions? If there are any other questions, you all can forward it to our panelists. I think we have another one question. How do we manage our sleep when working as an entrepreneur? This question goes to Mr. Dulit.
Mismanaging sleep. Yeah, so as I told you, I'm not going to be a good person to give a good answer because I myself have failed big time on this, and only I'm putting extra effort to get this going properly for you. But I think it getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, at least 7 hours of good sleep, always is now giving me extremely productive mornings, which I lacked before. And when I thought I'm a night owl and I always work better at nights, but now that you get the proper sleep and mornings are delivering even better results, I regret that I didn't put enough effort to it earlier. So anybody here who has insomnia, please work hard on it, and there are multiple ways to handle it.
So I would like to get the opinion from Mr. Bhagya also for that question.
well,
I think Bhagya, his staff will have to answer for it.
no. I think Dulit, once you start right in the IT sector, the initial days are pretty much sleepless. Yeah, right. You lose your bio clock as well, right? You completely lose it, right? And I think what you get is as you mature, you start learning. You start working smartly. All right, and you can set boundaries, right? It's very tough as a junior person or somebody. I'm being very very honest here, right? To create boundaries and work through those things. But now, as I said, I also is one of the people. My wife used to say I'm pretty much a 5-hour sleeper, right? 5 hours is what I get, right? Now somehow I figure out ways to get 6-7 hours in, right? And you think as everyone says, right? All like once your perspective changes once you start working with a client. Yeah, if you go to UK, what we think is like, when we go and work there, US, UK or Australia, they come at 8, 7:38, they're there, right? By 4:35, they are all gone, right? And we think, working nights and all that, it's what it gives. No, that if you work smartly, you can also, get yourself up, right? But, to get there, obviously you have to put the hard yards. Now I'm an IT person, right? I'm saying I'm losing sleep. So Dulit, pretty much a well-known entrepreneur, he has lost his sleep. So all of us have done it. Yeah, we are there, right? Put that hard work into it. But after you come to a certain level, you really need to start loving yourself, making sure your health conditions and everything, all that is taken care, right? And for me, actually, more than me right now, it's my daughter who picks me up and go. Yeah, okay, it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, come, let's go. Yeah, we'll sleep. Yeah, like that. It the priorities and how you manage your family also adds up to it. Plus now, with the IT sector also, a lot of things, like now, those days we used to work in a desktop, isn't it? Right? We couldn't walk away. Now we had to. Now we are into what? We came to laptops, now tabs, phones, and everything. So it's far easier as well, right? To manage yourself. Remote connectivity has also helped. So initially you'll lose it, but once you get experience and everything, I think you'll be there, and then you can manage it.
So with hard work, we lose sleep. So yeah. So I hope, Chamod, you got a very elaborative answer. So any other questions, guys, you can forward to our panelists. So I think as no other questions, let's wrap up the Q&A session. So thank you all for your thoughtful questions and to our panelists for sharing their valuable insights. With that, our time for this discussion has come to an end. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Dulit Thera, Dr. Nirosha Vedasinghe, and Mr. Bhagya Boteju for being a part of this insightful panel discussion. Your experiences and knowledge have surely inspired our audience and aspiring young individuals. Lastly, a big thank you to all our participants for joining us today. We hope this discussion has motivated you to unleash your entrepreneurial spirit and embrace innovation for a successful future. Remember, success comes with dedication, continuous learning, and a passion for making a positive impact. Please stay connected with Upskill 2023, organized by IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka, for more exciting events in the future. Have a great evening. Signing off as the moderator. Controls back to you, Ranshika.
Thank you, Amy. So I would like to thank our panelists, Mr. Durit Thera, Dr. Nirosha Vedasinghe, and Mr. Bhagya Boteju for all the insightful points they shared, and as well as our moderator, Imi Pereira, for doing a wonderful job of keeping the discussion flowing smoothly as well. And we very much appreciate that you accepted our invitations to join us today. And I'm quite sure everyone in the audience has taken away some key points they can apply to their own lives from the discussion. So in order to put down our gratitude in a more lasting medium, please accept these digital token of appreciations we have prepared for you. First of all, Mr. Dulit Thera.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.
And then Dr. Nirosha Vedasinghe.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
Yes, and Mr. Bhagya Boteju.
Yeah, thanks, team, and all the best for your programs and upskill 2023. Yeah, thank you again.
Thank you so much, sir. And a picture is worth 1,000 words. So to keep this moment as a memory, we are now rated as will be shared again in the chat box, and you may now take a few minutes to set up as well. And you can now turn on your cameras as well. Okay, guys, you can turn on your cameras. Okay, then I hope everyone is ready. Great. Okay, so then on my count 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, great. Thank you guys for joining with the photo. So in order to hear out your feedbacks and any suggestions, we have once again shared a form and it will be in the chat box as well. And you are free and all welcome to share your true honest reviews to help us give you what you're to be organized for you. Great. And as we have come to the conclusion of today's session, let us be grateful for the people who have sacrificed their valuable time for this event. For that, I cordially invite Ravindra Balivita, the design team lead of IEEE Let's Talk for the year 2023, to deliver the word of thanks.
Thank you, Ranshika. I hope I'm audible now. Yeah. So yeah, it gives me great pleasure to thank all of you on behalf of Upskill 2023 Organizing Committee of Young Professionals of Sri Lanka. And firstly, I would like to extend my gratitude to Mr. Rahul Nimesh for his insightful words. And I truly believe most of our participants were inspired and motivated by your words, sir. And secondly, I would like to thank today's session panelists, Mr. Dulit Herath, Dr. Nirosha Singh, lecturer at General Sir John Kothalavel Defense University, Mr. Bhagavateju, General Manager of HCL Technologies Private Limited, and I'm undoubtedly sure that your descriptive discussion was an excellent addition to our young professionals. And next, I would like to thank all the executive committee members of IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka. These are actually the silent heroes who stand behind and give their contribution throughout this whole event. And I must thank the Upskill 2023 Organizing Committee, who have been working hard for the past few weeks to make this event super perfect. And without their effort and advocate, we may not have been able to organize this kind of event for you guys. And well, they played a wonderful role throughout the event. And finally, I would like to express my heartiest gratitude to all of you delegates who participated in this event today. I hope you enjoyed today's session. And this is not the end. We'll see you again on the 5th of August at AIA Towers, Colombo 7, with the workshop and the networking session. Till then, have a great day. Back to you, Ranshika.
Thank you, Ravindra, for your really grateful words. Great. So then it's time to say goodbye to all of you. Thank you, everyone, for your interactive participation. And we are pretty sure that you all have gained something valuable out of those amazing talk sessions. With that, day 2 of Upskill 2023 has drawn to a close. Thank you, everyone, for being present today. And I'm excited to see on 5th of August at AIA Tower for day 3, our final and physical session of Upskill. Until then, stay safe.